was kind of ugly for them too. After the Raiders going for 2 with about 45 seconds left. And as far as the Giants, I think Victor Cruz is back. Sterling Shepard, he's gonna be pretty good too. That offense is a lot better. I think their defense has improved a little bit, but I still think the Saints will be able to put points on the board. So maybe I'm gonna just go with a gut feeling here that the Giants win, but do not cover the 4.5 point spread. It's gonna be either like a 38-34 win or some 38-35, something like that, where it's going to be close. It's just going to be a old gunslinging shootout as far as the offense is concerned in this one. Next matchup is the San Francisco 49ers 1-0 versus the Carolina Panthers 0-1. Carolina Panthers are 13.5 point favorites, and the Niners just kind of pummeling the Los Angeles Rams last week, and really, was it a thing where people right away, because you expected the 49ers to be so bad? Although, I mean, even if you look at last year, we can't overreact too much, especially what the 49ers do in that very late game, that Monday night game, because they did the same thing last year to the Minnesota Vikings, who ended up winning the NFC North. And maybe we thought at that point too, maybe the 49ers aren't as bad as we thought they were after losing all that talent going into the 2015 season. So I guess either way, even if you think maybe the 49ers are going to be a little bit better than what you thought they were going to be, or maybe the Rams are a little bit worse than what you thought they were going to be. I think it's week 1. You don't overreact. It's a new week here, as far as the 49ers to travel across country to the East Coast. Playing at 1 o'clock, that's a 10 o'clock game for them. That's something that they're not used to. Maybe they play this game in a way. Oh boy. Anyway, they might play this game closer at some point, but they're probably going to be fatigued out at some point during this game. I'm going to say the Panthers win this game, cover the spread, but throughout some of the game, they maybe play it closer than what the final score will indicate. Because I maybe don't think the 49ers are going to be bad as everyone thinks. They might be a 6 or 7 win team, which granted is not that great, but I think they'll maybe win some games that people think they maybe shouldn't have won, but and maybe week 1 was just one of those games. But I think the Panthers again get back on track. I think that the 49ers defense isn't terrible, but they're not playing the same style of defense that they played last week in the Denver Broncos, and it'll be probably surprisingly easier for Cam Newton to win the game when people aren't headhunting you, because man, oh man, I mean, I am not a Cam Newton fan, and then if you've listened to this show in the past, you would know that. But man, alive, he was getting headhunted all game long, and I think a guy too that I think is maturing quite a bit. I liked the way he reacted after last week's loss too. To the Denver Broncos. He didn't whine about it. He didn't complain. He basically said, especially that last hit to the helmet, on that final drive, he said that was not the reason why we lost the game. I thought that was very mature of him. Rather than how he acted just a few months ago after the Super Bowl, and I'm sure that was something that again, as we talked about when that happened, he was going to learn from that experience, and he'll look to get back on track. Denver Broncos have his number, I guess, but I think the Panthers get back on track with a win there. The next game is going to be the Dallas Cowboys 0-1 versus the Washington Redskins, who are 0-1. And the Redskins are 3-point favorites, basically just getting the home advantage spread in this game. You look at it, Dak Prescott threw for 227 yards last week. Really, he didn't look great, didn't look bad, and I think that's kind of what we're going to see from Dak Prescott. I think the Giants are a team that could potentially win this division. The Cowboys, they might be right there too with them. As far as the Washington Redskins are concerned, one of their big weaknesses, as we saw on Monday night, was that their inability to, for one, to run the ball. That's why you got to put Fat Rob, my boy Fat Rob, Robert Kelly, in at running back, because Matt Jones was not getting it done versus not that great of a defense in the Pittsburgh Steelers. And they can't stop the run. I mean, D'Angelo Williams, I guess now the ageless wonder, who when he filled in even last year for Le'Veon Bell, he did an admirable job. But man, oh man, they made him look like Barry Sanders out there. And now you got Ezekiel Elliott, who did struggle a little bit last week. He was 20 carries for 51 yards. He did have one touchdown. But with the Cowboys' offensive line and Ezekiel Elliott and Alfred Morris in that backfield, I think that's gonna be the big difference in what makes the Cowboys win this game. Maybe not going to be my upset special because it's only a 3-point spread. I don't think it'll be that crazy of an upset if the Cowboys win this game, and that's what I'm going with here. The next game is going to be the Miami Dolphins 0-1 versus the New England Patriots 1-0. I know there's a lot of people thinking that this is going to be the game where Jimmy Garoppolo looks human, because the Miami Dolphins defense, the Miami Dolphins front line, probably to be a little bit more specific. But man alive, the Cardinals defense is not one to sneeze at. I think Patrick Peterson, he didn't see a lot of time in training camp, so he might have been a little bit off. But Patriots find the way to win. And I'll maybe say this: I'm going to take the Patriots to win this game outright, but I think maybe the Dolphins make it a little bit closer. They did hold the Seattle Seahawks to, I think it was it 13-10, 12-10, something like that. They held it close, but I don't think the Dolphins can score enough points. Ryan Tannehill, Arian Foster is hurt again, as he usually is, a hamstring issue. So we're not going to see him. We're not going to be seeing him maybe healthy, I guess. I'm not sure if he's going to be playing or not. But Tannehill, he's, I guess, kind of hit or miss too. But the Patriots defense, I think, just top to bottom, has overall is a very solid defense, and maybe one of the better ones in the NFL too. Kind of underratedly, because they always bring in no-name guys on both sides of the ball, and no one maybe respects that about them. But I'll take the Patriots. I'll take Garoppolo to go 2-0. I think they faced their basically biggest test that they will have with the Arizona Cardinals last week. I'm looking at this button. I just got to see what it sounds like. Oh, and with that, we do go into the matchup of the week. That's right. I'm going to pick the matchup of the week. This is going to be the best matchup. This will be the best game. I just wanted to use that sound effect, but I think this will be the best matchup. The rematch of the AFC wildcard game will be the Cincinnati Bengals 1-0 versus the Pittsburgh Steelers 1-0. Again, the Cincinnati Bengals, squeaked by the New York Jets last week, who on Thursday night put up a pretty big show against the Buffalo Bills, who fired their offensive coordinator, who should have fired their defensive coordinator, Rob Ryan, because he's terrible. But anyway, back to the Bengals and the Steelers. As far as passing the ball, Andy Dalton looked pretty good. The Bengals didn't run the ball that well. As far as this game's concerned, I think it's just going to be a slugfest and the NFL is going to be looking at this game, I think, under a microscope, so they don't have kind of a repeat what we had in the AFC wildcard game, which was basically a jailbreak or a prison break defense in the Cincinnati Bengals. I don't think we'll quite see that. But I do like the Pittsburgh Steelers. I do like them with the spread. I think they have just a little bit too much of offensive firepower. I think they are a team that can. The Bengals are a team that can slow down D'Angelo Williams. He's not going to have that 143 yards rushing that he had last week and his 2 TDs. But Antonio Brown might not. Again, he might not put up 126 yards in his two TDs that he had last week. But he's going to be a threat. I think that's the whole thing. I think that intrigues people about the Pittsburgh Steelers this season is that offense, and that defense is again not for the Steelers. It went from probably being a pretty bad defense towards the bottom half of the NFL to being right towards the middle of the pack, maybe a little bit above, which I think I think will help this team. If it wants to make a run into the playoffs, even though it won some games close last year, but it was the weak point of that team, and I think they kind of closed the gap to where their offense is right now. All right, next matchup. This is not a matchup here, but a good matchup. But it's going to be the Baltimore Ravens 1-0 facing the Cleveland Browns 0-1. The Baltimore Ravens are 5.5-point favorites on the road in this one. And this is probably going to be my upset special of the week. Kind of. I'm going to say the Baltimore Ravens win this one, but I think the Browns cover the spread. I just think, the Baltimore Ravens are going to be a lot better team than what they were last year because of the fact that they got all those people healthy. Joe Flacco got hurt at the end of the year. Terrell Suggs, Steven Smith. There's so many people that got hurt for the Baltimore Ravens last year. They didn't have any depth. It was basically a practice squad out there playing. And as far as the Cleveland Browns, losing RG3 is probably a little bit of a godsend because you look at how Josh McCown did last year. He was not the problem in Cleveland. He was a decent quarterback at best, and that's I think who Josh McCown is. We've seen him throughout his career. When he played with the Arizona Cardinals, he had his moments, but he wasn't that great, and that was kind of what the Arizona Cardinals were back then. That's basically saying he's going to take a 7-9 team. He's going to be 7-9. He could take, I think, a team that is 13-3. He'll make them probably about 13-3, maybe even 11-5. He is a middle of the road quarterback that he isn't going to win you games. He is just probably one of those maybe more typical game managing quarterbacks. I think that's why he when he played for the Bears, when he had his that got him these big contracts with the Browns and the Buccaneers. The Bears had a good offense around that time, and he can go in there and do well. But if he's in a weak offense, he's not going to be the guy that turns your totally crap offense into something great. He's going to manage to what he has, and but with that being said, I don't think he's going to be the problem. I think the Browns play a little bit better. They're going to be a little bit more competitive. They're still going to lose a ass ton of games, don't get me wrong, but I think they'll look a little bit better in the long run for these next 8 weeks, and I have a feeling RG3 will not get his starting spot back. The next game is going to be the Tennessee Titans, who are 0-1, versus the Detroit Lions, who are 1-0. The Lions are 6-point favorites in this game. This one's actually probably a little bit tougher. I think people want to go. The Lions beat the Colts, and again, I've said this last week. I don't think the Detroit Lions are as bad of a team as people think. And the Tennessee Titans too, who really just kind of gave that up offensively. Offensive turnovers. You're playing the Vikings defense that was a lot better. Now you're playing a team in the Detroit Lions who don't have that great of a defense. They'll be able to put up a little bit more points. But that being said, I'm going to say that the Lions win the game, but I'm also going to say the Titans will cover the spread. It'll be a little bit closer. But I think the Lions have enough firepower offensively that they'll be able to win the game. And even the Lions' defensive line, they'll be able to slow down the run. DeMarco Murray had a decent game. But and even if Derrick Henry